All right, welcome to Camp K9. We are here with Stella on day 6. And what we're going to be going over today is management versus training, as well as pattern development. Now, when it comes to pattern development, what I mean is there are certain protocols that we can do on our day-to-day lives that are just going to make her life infinitely easier on her. And those things that we're going to be working on are things like that we may have already showed you. So things like having her wait before she goes through. So come. Sit. Sit. Good. Sit. Sit. Good. Sit. Good. Come. So by having her do these protocols or managing managing that pattern development, right? Every time I come to a door, you sit, I go through, and then the same thing. If I come back, you sit at the door, I go through before you, and that takes away a whole bunch of the nervousness. She recognizes those patterns. Mom goes through the door, or mom or dad or the parents go through the door before I do. So I actually don't have to worry anymore about clearing out that spot or that unknown area. Now, the way that we can practice this is we can practice this at home, where we could go to any closed door in the house. We go to every threshold, and what we're doing is we're just creating that pattern in her. The way that I would also, the thing that I also recommend is I would recommend using a slip leash as opposed to the harness, because what happens is the harness is going to reinforce the behaviors that she wants to do. Because if we have that, she's able to get down into her center of gravity, where now she's able to actually dig in and try and steer you away from the thing that's making her nervous. So the whole idea behind doing by switching it up to a slip leash is going to be that we're going to have a little bit more control of where her focus is going to be. I want her focusing on me as opposed to focusing on the thing that she's scared of. So another thing that we're going to have with her pattern development is every time she tries to scurry or run away, or anytime she puts any kind of pressure into my hand, I'm going to slightly tick her back towards me. And what that's going to teach her is that anytime she feels pressure, I am going to correct her back to me. So if I'm consistent with that, what that tells her is when we're outside and you hear a noise that scares you, and she pulls, and I give her a correction, I'm not correcting you because I'm acknowledging that thing that is scary. I'm correcting you because because you've put pressure on the leash. Now, if I've done that plenty of times in a space that she can feel comfortable in, where she would randomly want to move or randomly want to wander, and I'm just giving her those slight corrections, when I go outside, it actually transfers. That's going to help her become less nervous. Also, when it comes to pattern development, things like having her meal done the same way every single time. Like if we have her at breakfast and we give her breakfast in her kennel, for example. Maybe she doesn't have a kennel. I'm just using this as an example. Every morning at 6 a.m., I put her food in her kennel. I make her wait outside, and then when I say the word "okay," she's allowed to go inside of her kennel and eat her food. And then I do that for every meal at the same times every single day. That pattern gives her a sense of comfort because it becomes a daily known. And that's really, really going to cut back on the nervousness that she has. So things that we are going to do that are going to help her, that are going to help her through this, is we want to make sure that we're doing enough leash manipulation, or at least enough physical leash corrections as she's trying to cut behind us. So when we're walking, and let's say she wanted to start running in a different spot. Right now, we've been practicing that leash pressure, so she's doing really, really well. that also cuts back on that nervousness because she realizes that she doesn't have to worry about background. Now, when we start using it to manage it in public, now I can go into public, and every time she pulls on my leash and I give her a correction, she realizes it's because of leash pressure, not because of all these people who are around me. And if we can get her to understand that one thing, what happens is her focus completely changes. It changes from focusing on external events, and the focus turns up back to the person who's holding the leash. There's an engagement there. There's a certain trust there. And if we continue on, starting now, and then we just keep continuing, we're building levels of trust by keeping consistent at every single time. Hey, you have to stay right here. I'm going to stay right next to you, and I promise you, nothing bad will happen. And she's going to have that kind of relationship with you. So her focus changes from the external events, and it turns around and it comes back to the focus on the person who is handling the leash. Now, the more you handle the leash in this particular manner, easier and easier it gets, and the less and less nervous she gets because it's a set pattern. There's comfort inside of the pattern. It would be weird if anything were outside of the pattern. So what we essentially did was we turned everything that would make her nervous into background. And that's actually what we're trying to do. We're trying to let her know that you do not need to hyper-focus on that particular thing because it's not worth focusing on. We're just going to continue our walk. So, come on, baby. So, like I was explaining earlier, if you do these exercises in your home, and you continue to do them over and over and over again, she just keeps getting she keeps getting more and more comforted through the patterns that we have already set.